Hi everyone and welcome back. In today's video I'm going to be doing a review and demo of the new Aqua Pastels from Jane Davenport, and what these are basically watercolour crayons. And this is not a sponsored video, I've just purchased this set with my own money to play around with, and I've had a lot of fun using it, so I wanted to do a little review and a little demonstration of how I've been using these in my art journal, and we'll be doing a speed paint in my art journal a bit later on. And if you're looking to get these yourself, they're available from Michael's in the US. You can get them from the janedavenport.com website, and they're also available in independent scrapbooking shops normally here in Europe, but do act quickly if you want a set, because I've noticed they've only just come available in Europe. They're only just coming into the shops, but they are selling out really quickly. So if you want a set, I would act quickly and buy one whilst you can, because I don't think they'll last too long. The Jane Davenport stuff is really popular. So anyway, the packaging, I just want to say something about the packaging for the Jane Davenport mixed media line. If you've never seen any of it before, it's really gorgeous. So this is the pack of Aqua Pastels. It has this lovely girl on the cover, even for these little sets of these little pens that I got as well. Again, lovely packaging, lovely artwork by Jane herself on the packaging. And I really like it. I love it when the brands take a lot of time over the packaging and make it look really gorgeous as well. So the packaging is lovely, and this tin that the pastels come in is really sturdy. And I think that's important because crayons, pastels are quite a delicate medium. I think it's important that the packaging is functional and will protect them properly. So there are 12 crayons in this little set. They come all lined up like this, and they're really snug in there. And they come with this little tiny thin piece of foam over the top. They're really snug. They're not going to bounce around too much. And so I think that this, if you're looking for a set that you can take out with you, traveling or outside, if you paint outside, then this set, as you can see, they rattle around a little bit, but not a lot. They're not going to break if you're going to carry this around with you. So I think this set would be useful if you want to go outside and take some water-soluble media to use. And also it's small. The set is really small and compact, so if you don't have a lot of storage, it's a good idea. And also you can put it into any bag or rucksack or tote bag, handbag. You know, they're very small and easy to carry around, so I really like that about this set. Now the colours themselves, the colour choices are really nice for this set, and one of the things that I particularly like is the inclusion of some skin tones. So as you can see, I've swatched out the pastels, and I've gone over with a brush and some water to activate them, because what they are water-soluble crayons. They're a little bit like a water-soluble pencil as well. So there's a really nice bright yellow, there's a couple of nice skin tones, a lighter and a darker one, there's a really nice red, there's a pink, there's a sort of plum colour, there are 2 purples, 2 blues, a turquoise and a green. Now it will depend on what you like to paint. For instance, for me, I would perhaps prefer 2 greens instead of 2 purples, but that's a very, with a set of 12, it will depend on what your favourite colours are and how you like to use them. But I think overall, this is a really nicely balanced set, and the inclusion of the skin tones are really nice, or these colours that could be used as skin tones. You don't normally find colours like that in a set of 12, and I really like the inclusion of that because it gives you a lot more possibilities with what you can do with these. Now the pastels themselves, if I just get the camera to focus there, the pastels have a flat end to them, and I'll show you why this is useful in a moment. And they have this paper label, and each of the pastels are named after different artists. So this one is the sort of plum colour, and this one's called Dali. It's a sort of plum red colour, and this one's called Dali. And as you can see, the label has a sort of a Dali-esque face on it. And if the label's annoying you, you can take them off. So they're not glued onto the crayon in any way. And I do find that when I'm working, sometimes the label can slip a little bit, but that's quite good because you can sort of twist it down when you're working and then put it back on again afterwards. So those are the 12 different colours. They're all named after different artists. You've got Toulouse-Lautrec, Botticelli, Da Vinci, Van Gogh, Michelangelo, Dali, Frida, Gauguin, Cézanne, Monet. I love the fact that the yellow crayon is called Monet. Monet is one of my favourite artists, and yellow is my favourite colour, so I love the fact that the yellow one is called Monet. But yeah, and they all have the packaging is just really nice overall, and if the labels are annoying you, because they can, although that one's actually on quite tight, but some of them are a little loose. Where's that loose one? Oh yeah, the Dali one was loose. So if that annoys you, you can take it off or cut it down a bit. You can adjust to how you like to work. So I'm just going to swatch one out and liquefy it just to kind of show you how they how you can use them. This is a page that I did in my mixed media journal the other day, and I just I did a little face in the middle. Some of that is coloured pencil under there, and then I went and I sort of was just scrubbing them out, liquefying them, just seeing how they work. So if I just turn to a new page, I'll just show you very quickly how you can use them. So the reason why the flat end is useful is because you can colour like this. And remember, when you're using water-soluble crayons or pencils, you have to apply the colour lightly. Otherwise, you'll get marks when you are painting. So you can apply it flat like that to apply a lot of colour, and then you can take a water brush and liquefy it and turn it into a watercolour, just like you would with watercolour pencils. You could also you can also grab colour directly off the tip of the pastel like that. You get a much darker colour if you do that. You can layer them. I will show you some different I'll show you how I use them all together in a moment when I do my art journal page. So you can apply them flat, but then you can also, if you want to draw lines, you just use the side and you can get a really thin line. So when I first got these, when I saw the flat tip, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to sharpen these because I'm used to working with a sharp tip. But I'm not going to sharpen these. I think these work really well as they come in the box because you can get that flat layer of colour, and you can also get the nice fine lines by using them on the side. So you can get thicker lines, thinner lines, and then that flat layer of colour. So I think this particular design of the end of the crayon is really useful, I think, because you have 3 different options with one crayon tip. So I wouldn't sharpen them, but of course you can sharpen them if you want to. If you only want to draw with them, then you may want to sharpen them, but you would obviously lose quite a bit of crayon getting that to a fine tip. So I just want to let you know that if you get this set, you don't have to sharpen them. They work really well unsharpened. So it's very simple to use. You apply them to the paper. You can apply them to wet paper if you want. You could dip the crayon into your water bucket and then scribble just as you would with watercolour pencils. Now I did do a whole tutorial on using watercolour pencils. That should be up on my channel now, so I'll leave a link to that. But yes, so there are some different techniques, and of course if you just want a little bit of colour, you just apply your wet brush to the end of the crayon and scribble. I'll just get some water going with this brush and just scribble down. So there's lots of different ways that you can use these aqua pastels. So now I'm just going to grab my art journal, which is here, and I've gone ahead already and I've prepped a page. So this page has got a piece of masking tape down the spine and it's been gessoed, so it's all ready. And I'm going to jump into a time lapse, and I'll be back in a moment in a voiceover to talk about some of the different techniques and how they worked on the page. And this is a small Dylusions journal if anyone's interested. Right, so I just started out by layering down some colours, scribbling some colours onto my page. And if you want to just create a mixed media watercolour-y looking background, this is one of the best ways I found to do it. Just scribble some colours on and liquefy them. Now, because I was using so many different colours, I was finding that in certain places I was getting mud because of the colours that I was mixing together, but I didn't mind that because this is an art journal page. This is going to have lots of layers put on it, and I just wanted to get some colour down. And I'm also getting very pale colours because I haven't scribbled a lot of colour out. I wanted quite a pale looking background, but you could certainly get a very vibrant one using these crayons by just scribbling down more colour. And I'm just going ahead and adding the colour in different ways. So I applied it directly to the paper there. I'm sort of splattering the colour off the ends of the crayons here by dipping the crayon briefly into water and then taking the brush and sort of splattering it up against the end of the crayon to kind of create some splattered effects. Then I also, a little bit later on, I ended up dipping the crayons into water briefly and then sort of stamping with them, and that's another way that that little flat tip on the end of the crayon is useful. You can create these kind of cool little stamped dotted effect, and that was fun to do. So really with a page like this, and this is what I do when I get a new supply, is I just take a piece of paper, do a page in my art journal, and just really have fun and splatter, just really test out the supplies. So in a way, I'm not worried about how it's looking. My aim is not to create a masterpiece. My aim is just to really push the supplies and just to see how I can use them. So that way, when I do come to applying them to a finished piece, or if I had a very particular idea in mind, or perhaps it's a piece that I want to use for my portfolio or whatever, I know how I can use these. I've practiced with them, and that's why I like doing these sort of pages in my art journal, just to really get to know a supply. And I also found that these paints lifted very well. So if you like to, if you've splattered lots of paint on, or it's got too dark, or you like to lift areas up to create highlights, you can do that. You can just wet the page, take a paper towel or a cloth and lift the pigment right up. It lifts very well, so that's quite good. And one other thing I wanted to quickly mention was that when you first start with the crayons, you may notice, and this applies not just to these crayons but to other watercolour pencils and water-soluble media as well. I found different brands have this, but the ends of the crayons have a white coating on them, and I think this is some sort of protective sealant, and you may find that you need to kind of rub that white coating off. I suggest that just dipping the crayon briefly into water and just giving it a rub with a paper towel, or just scribbling it out until that white layer comes off, because it's almost like a waxy resist layer, and you may find that you're not getting much colour off your crayon because there's like a resist on the end of it when you first get them. So I would suggest just, if you have watercolour pencils, what I do is I just sharpen them to get rid of that resist. But with these crayons, as I said earlier, I'm not going to sharpen them, so you can just scratch off the resist or just dip it in water and give it a rub with a cloth, and then you'll get much more colour up off them if you do that. So after I'd done the background, I let it completely dry, and I'm kind of using my heat gun in between layers just to completely dry things before I add the next layer. And I just drew on a face very roughly with one of the Gauguin, the brown crayon, and then I just drew on some hair, and I'm just kind of going in and just layering up a bit of a face over the background. Now, normally with an art journal page, I would layer different supplies together, but with this page, I really wanted to keep as much as possible to the Aqua Pastels and to really test them out. And I found that they layered on top of each other really nicely. You do have to be careful with how much water you're applying because, as I said earlier, they do lift very well, so it is possible to lift up multiple layers of colour. And if you're looking for a water-soluble crayon or an ink-soluble medium that's not going to lift, then I know that the Inktense pencils and the Inktense blocks are permanent when dry. So you may... if you're looking for something that's going to be permanent, then these are probably not what you're looking for, because these do lift. And and the important thing for me is to dry between layers, because you want it to be as dry as possible so that when you add the next layer, you're not ripping up the paper, but you can also get you can also sort of blend some colours, and the colours also blended really nicely together as well. So now I've just taken my Pentel pocket brush pen, and this is not obviously one of the crayons, but I really just thought that I needed to add some thick black lines to the hair and to the face, just to add some extra dimension to the piece. And there wasn't a black crayon in this set. And it didn't actually occur to me before when I was swatching them out. I thought the colour, I was just swatching them out. It didn't occur to me that there was a black missing until it got to the end here, and I realised that I didn't have anything to do any outlining with. But to be honest, I don't think you really need a black, to be honest, because what I use a black for is outlining sometimes, and I couldn't really outline with these crayons because I wouldn't get quite a smooth enough line. And I do think, like with all of Jane Davenport's mixed media line, they're meant to be used in combination with other supplies. So you can use these on their own. I could do another test where I'm just colouring in a painting and doing something a little bit more illustrative with them, because this is obviously very mixed media, the piece that I did here. So you could definitely use them in paintings and doing sort of more illustrative work, but they also work really well in combination with other supplies. So in combination with gesso and paint pens and ink brushes, and as a mixed media supply, it is important that they can work with both. So now that everything's dry, I'm just grabbing a few stickers just to kind of finish off the page, because even though this is a practice page, I wanted to make it a completed page in my art journal. So I've got a quote which is from the very end of The Great Gatsby, the end of the book, which is boats against the currents. Boats against the current, and it's from the last line of the book where the narrator's talking about how everyone is constantly being pushed back into the past and they're boats against the current. Borne ceaselessly back into the past, I think that's the full quote. Anyway, so that's my little review and demo of the Jane Davenport Aqua Pastels. They're a really nice supply if you're looking for a small pack of water-soluble crayons, something that's got a really nice set of colours, that's compact. I don't have any water-soluble crayons, so I was really pleased with my purchase here, and I'm going to be using them a lot more in the future. So if you have any questions, make sure you leave them down in the comments below, and I will hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you again next time.